Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Matthew. I just wanted to record a video talking about his first episode of his Dark Materials, the new HBO show. So, I don't think I've discussed my feelings on the book series on my channel yet, but I'm gonna have to do that at some point. So, I first fell in love with these books when I was in middle school, I think, and I flew through them. I absolutely loved them, and I reread them quite soon after. I was super excited when I heard the show was coming out, and so I decided that I wanted to try rereading the books again to refamiliarize myself with the world and just jump back into something that I loved. And that, my friends, was a mistake. The first book, fantastic. I still stand that. It's really, really great. The second and third books, however, I absolutely hated. The second book was much worse than the first, and the third book was downright awful. For me, anyway. My main issue is that Philip Pullman just kind of added way too many elements. If I had to make an analogy, I feel like Pullman was making a stew and he just added so many ingredients to the point that all the flavors are clashing, the textures off, some portions are cooked to oblivion, other parts just aren't cooked at all, they're super underdeveloped, and I just can't believe that the result we ended up with is what he started out intending to create. Like, it can't be. And that's really, really disappointing. But I had a lot of hope for the show because in screenwriting, you often have to cut like a ton of superfluous things. And so I feel like the show format will kind of have the opportunity to streamline the plot going forward after the first book and make it a more cohesive whole that just kind of reads more coherently and is more straightforward. If you don't know anything about his Dark Materials, it takes place in a world that's a lot like ours, but the kind of main feature of this world is that human souls are external from their bodies and they take the form of an animal companion. In childhood, that companion can shapeshift, but once the person reaches adulthood or maturity or whatever, the animal settles into a single form. The world is a lot like ours, but for transportation, they use like blimps still, and things are a bit more like steampunk. However, not taking place like in Regency London or anything. The world is like very modern, kind of steampunky. That's the vibe that you get from it. In this story, there is the main character, Lyra Balakwa, or Lyra Silvertongue as she later becomes known, and she's a 12-year-old girl who was brought to Jordan College by her uncle Asriel. And he told the college to protect her because there's something called Scholastic Sanctuary, and for some reason it seems like the magisterium, the church in this world, wants something to do with Lyra due to a prophecy that the witches of the far north have. So with that, let's actually talk about the show now, since that is the video. Episode 1 I really, really liked. I feel like we definitely got a very good sense of the world. So episode 1 starts where we see Lord Asriel, Lyra's uncle, played by James McAvoy, coming and bringing baby Lyra to the college. And from there, we jump 12 years forward, and Lyra is running around the college with her best friend Roger. You get a very good sense of the atmosphere and ambiance of Oxford in this world. Lyra is scrambling across the roofs of Jordan College, going down into the crypts housing the bones of long dead scholars, stealing wine to drink with her 12-year-old friend. Later, we see that Asriel, James McAvoy, is up in the north in the Arctic on this kind of expedition, and he is photographing the northern lights, and he's using a special kind of material. He's photographing the northern lights, and he also photographs like an adult and child together, but he's using a special method that allows him to see a substance called dust, and dust plays a very big part in this world. Dust is kind of heretical to the magisterium, which is this powerful, overarching, authoritarian governing body that has kind of controlled the world for a couple centuries now. And so Asriel snapping a picture of something that has only been theoretical up until this point is a very, very big deal for the church. And so Asriel comes back to Oxford and goes to Jordan College to share his discoveries with the scholars of the university and to ask for funding to further his experiments and his expeditions north. Lyra sneakily watches her uncle arrive and notices that the master of the college has poisoned his wine and saves him from it. He's kind of a dick, honestly, and almost dislocates her arm. That's something that I hope the show changes. Is I hope they make him a little bit more sympathetic, because in the books he's kind of a grandiose megalomaniac, which I mean I would be too if I was him, but it's a bit annoying. But then Asriel tasks Lyra with hiding away in the closet and spying on his presentation to the other university scholars. From there, he gets his funding approved and decides to leave the next day. Lyra has it in her head that her uncle is going to bring her on an expedition north one day, and that's something she's been very excited for a long time. She runs after him. He throws her out of the Zeppelin, like you do, and that's that. Later on, we see the master of the college talking with Lyra's tutor and the librarian, that there's actually this prophecy about a foretold child, and that Lyra is this child, but unfortunately, he can't tell her that she has this great journey to go on where there will be a vast betrayal, because knowing about the prophecy obviously affects it. To do something to help her, though, he gives her something called an alethiometer, hence the name of the first book, The Golden Compass. And an alethiometer tells the truth. You're able to ask it questions and kind of discern answers by reading all of the symbols that go around the face of the compass. So later, a woman named Miss Coulter, played by Ruth Wilson, arrives, and she wants Lyra to come to London with her to be her assistant. She's very mysterious, and Lyra is instantly kind of enraptured by her. She's really, really charming, which I like. I think Ruth Wilson is going to do a phenomenal job playing this role. Miss Coulter is kind of the villain in the story, and already I can see that she's just going to do a fantastic job. Now, something else going on in this world at the same time is that children from all around Oxford and from the surrounding area have been going missing. They've been being taken by something called the Gobblers. No one really knows where the children are disappearing to. When Coulter invites Lyra to come to London, she says that she'll only go if she can bring her best friend Roger with her. Later that night, Roger gets abducted, and Lyra's on the fence about going. She wants to stay in Jordan to look for him, but Coulter convinces her that if he's been taken, he'll have been taken outside of the city, and that he'll likely be in London, where children go missing every day. And so the episode kind of closes out with Lyra boarding a Zeppelin with Miss Coulter and heading to London. And I guess we'll see where things go in episode 2. I, on the whole, really, really like this. I think that they did an excellent job. I think they chose fantastic actors for the roles. I'm really excited to see Ruth Wilson really lean into this Miss Coulter role, because she's my favorite character in the series, actually. I do have a couple gripes. Mostly, I know it's integral for the story that the demons talk, but talking animals just never really works for me on screen. But at least they look good. The CG is really decent, in my opinion. Also, I do wish we had gotten a little bit more of an explanation of what dust is, because we only have 8 episodes in this season. And I do wish that we'd gotten a little bit more of the magisterium, so we got a greater sense of who they are and how they operate in this world. Because knowing the plot of the book, I'm not sure that this is going to be addressed a lot in the coming 2 or 3 episodes. Overall, I'm really impressed with this show so far, and I can't wait to see how it goes. I'll likely be back next week to review episode 2, or maybe I'll review them in batches. I don't know, maybe 2 episodes at a time. I guess we'll see. I hope you enjoyed. I highly encourage you to go check out the show. I think that you'll definitely like it. And that's all. Have a good one. Ciao.